Brought to you by...
Darkness rarely descends in a single catastrophic moment. It creeps in through wounds we refuse to acknowledge, through the quiet fractures left behind by betrayal, guilt, and the craving for retribution. When a person is pushed to the edge of their own endurance, the line between justice and vengeance begins to blur, making temptation feel like clarity, and corruption feel like survival. In these moments of vulnerability, the human psyche becomes a battleground where fate, desire, and morality collide, each one whispering a different promise of power and absolution. Yet, every choice made in the shadows carries an echo. The allure of reclaiming control, the seductive promise that pain can be undone if one is willing to surrender some deeper part of themselves. This often masks the true cost beneath an illusion of empowerment. Mythic forces, whether imagined, symbolic, or deeply psychological, emerge in these moments as manifestations of internal conflict, reminding us that the greatest struggles are not waged against external enemies, but within the fractured terrain of the self. Hello friends, and welcome back to ETF. Gabrielle Rosson's Fool's Gold, adapted from the screenplay Bloody Rainville by Chris Salvi and James Simas, unfolds like a morality tale buried beneath layers of mystique, archetype, and theatrical symbolism. It's a short film that understands the psychological gravity of myth, how the mind processes guilt, betrayal, and desire, not through literal events, but through heightened, dreamlike imagery. The opening biblical warning from Peter 5:8, "Guard your soul, for the devil prowls like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour," immediately frames the story as an interior struggle, as much as a supernatural one. The viewer is invited not only to watch a conflict between good and evil, but to consider what it means to be spiritually vulnerable in a world where moral compromises are easy, seductive, and often disguised as survival. At its narrative core, Fool's Gold tracks the journey of a thief betrayed by her comrades, left for dead on a barren beach, and given a second chance at life through a sinister bargain. On its surface, this is a revenge story, pure and simple, but psychologically, the devil's appearance signals something deeper. The confrontation with the self at a moment of ultimate vulnerability. Chris Salvi's portrayal of the devil, an entity unmistakably woven from centuries of cultural symbolism, functions less as a literal demon than as an embodiment of temptation, resentment, and unprocessed trauma. Betrayal often fractures the psyche, creating a split between who one was and who one becomes afterward. In this sense, the devil represents the mind's darkest coping mechanism, a desire to reclaim power through destruction. His salvation is hollow, predicated on the suffering of others and the forfeiture of the soul. Yet it reflects an all-too-human psychological truth. When we feel powerless, the offer of vengeance can feel like a lifeline. Rosson's decision to represent the devil differently in his two appearances in the film, first at dawn dressed in immaculate white, and later draped in shadowed black, reveals a sophisticated understanding of how morality operates internally. At the beginning, white symbolizes seduction through purity, the promise that revenge is justified, righteous, and even restorative. The devil appears as a savior because trauma often distorts judgment, making destructive impulses look like clarity. By the film's end, however, when he confronts one of the remaining thieves, the devil's attire has shifted into darkness. This is not simply an aesthetic flourish. Psychologically, it marks the progression of corruption. The truth of the deal can no longer be masked. Once vengeance has been enacted, the bargain no longer needs to be beautiful. It only needs to be inevitable. Evil, once invited, becomes easier to recognize, but much harder to resist. The three women adorned in black feathers evoke mythological imagery, functioning as modernized sisters of fate, external embodiments of destiny, inevitability, and moral consequence. In Greek myth, the fates determine the length, trajectory, and end of a person's life. Here they appear not as impartial cosmic weavers, but as near silent observers of human weakness. Their presence suggests that the film's characters are not merely making choices, but fulfilling psychological patterns. Betrayal breeds rage. Rage seeks justification. Justification opens the door to corruption. By framing these steps with the language of myth, Rosin elevates personal failings into universal arcs. The cycle of hurt and retribution is ancient, cyclical, and deeply human. The film's stylized, almost stage play aesthetic enhances its psychological tone. The dramatization is intentional, functioning like a magnifying lens of internal turmoil. In everyday life, betrayal and temptation are subtle, ambiguous experiences. But within fantasy, they become embodied figures, haunting environments, and dramatic confrontations, echoes of how the mind exaggerates emotional pain to make sense of it. The barren beach on which the protagonist awakens operates as a literal and symbolic liminal space, a psychological shore between death and rebirth, morality and damnation, reality and fantasy. The heightened theatrical quality allows viewers to experience these moments as archetypal rather than literal, placing them within a collective unconscious, where devils, fates, and bargains have always lived. Though the film introduces itself as a story about a merry band of thieves and a war between good and evil, its real conflict is rooted in internal duality. Choosing a side was never part of the plan, because the characters are not moral heroes or villains. They are flawed individuals, navigating survival, loyalty, and desire. The devil's bargains simply expose the ethical fault lines already present within them. Psychologically, Fool's Gold argues that evil does not corrupt the virtuous. It exploits the wounded. The devil does not force choices. He surfaces them. Vengeance, resentment, and moral collapse are already incubating within the betrayed protagonist before she arrives. The devil's presence merely catalyzes what trauma has already begun. This film presents itself as a cinematic fantasy, a mythic fable about thieves, devils, and destiny. Yet beneath its stylized veneer lies a precise psychological portrait of what happens when betrayal fractures identity, and when the promise of vengeance masquerades as empowerment. Through the film's symbolic figures, the white-clad tempter, the black-feathered fates, and the shifting costumes of corruption, Gabrielle Rosin constructs a story that feels both timeless and intimately human. In the end, the film suggests that the devil's greatest power is not seduction, but recognition. He knows exactly what wounded people want, and he offers it with the illusion of choice. What follows, revenge, corruption, or damnation, becomes not just a supernatural consequence, but a mirror held up to the darkest corners of the psyche. Well, friends, that's going to be all for now. If you're interested in this film, I urge you to check it out for yourself and formulate your own thoughts and opinions about it. I hope you come share those thoughts in the comments. Let me know if there are any movies that you would like to see discussed on this channel. I always love to hear from you guys, and I do my best to try and respond to everyone. Furthermore, if you like the video, I urge you to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you aren't already. I know many of you watching aren't yet subscribed, so help support the channel. Subscribe. If you'd like to go the extra mile and support the channel even more, we do have a Patreon. And if you sign up for our Rated R tier level, you can get yourself access to the ETF Digital Archive. We get a lot of compliments about the VHS collection that you guys see in the background of almost all of our videos. Well, we have been hard at work slowly digitizing that collection and creating a place where we can share it with all of you. Thanks to the help of the Plex platform, one of this channel's sponsors, we can now do just that. This is our way of doing our part to help preserve that gritty, nostalgic VHS look and feeling before it's gone forever. So as a special thank you for becoming a Rated R tier member, you will be added to our ETF Archive Plex server, so that you can stream our VHS collection from anywhere at any time. It's basically like having a streaming service for VHS, which I think is pretty cool. We also have a Mercari store, where you can go and get yourself a little piece of the ETF archive. While collecting VHS, Blu-rays, and DVDs over many years, we wind up with lots of duplicates, and we unfortunately can't store them all. So on our Mercari shop, we have those for sale. Purchasing those not only expands your collection, but makes room for us to expand ours. All the links for everything are down in the description. Until next time, stay safe, and as always, thanks for watching.